I've wanted to drive a Singer 911 from the moment I first saw the car several years ago, and finally the chance has arrived. This is a machine rooted in passion, obsession and perfection. Each Singer is born in this shed somewhere in LA. We're going to spend some time with the man behind the car, Rob Dickinson, and then we're going to drive it on some Californian twisties, and then we'll take it to a circuit, let it move around a little more. And by the end of the show, I sincerely hope that you will feel you've seen what goes into making one of these gorgeous machines.
If you come in here, this is what the car was going to look like, and I started to think, well, why can't if you've got this wonderful interchangeability of parts in the air-cooled era, why can't you try and create, I know you want to use the word market, but suggest to the world that maybe there could be a possible ultimate 911, so cherry-picked from all these wonderful parts. Let's take the best engine, shove it in the best chassis, put the best brakes on it, best, develop it properly so it doesn't feel like a Frankenstein car, and then present it to the world to a bunch of guys that maybe have never driven a proper sorted air-cooled car before. And then it snowballed, and the wheels became available, and we thought, oh, bigger wheels, bigger brakes, and as you can imagine, the slippery slope started. So, but this is a car that we'd still like to investigate, a simpler car, a less exotic car, less extravagant car, still beautifully executed and beautifully done, maybe sold in a modular way. So we sell a body kit, and we sell a wheel and brake package and a suspension package, all nicely boxed, so people get stuff that's been properly developed, they screw it on and it works. Yeah. A lot of these guys are at the mercy of some of these Porsche shops by having stuff screwed on that hasn't necessarily been developed to work as a team and all that kind of stuff. So we think that maybe we can use the big fancy car as a trickle-down thing, so maybe we can offer something to guys like me who can't afford what we do, kind of grassroots guys who love these things but maybe appreciate what we've done with this crazy car, but it's obviously maybe not something that they could afford, and do something that I could afford and they can afford.
That's me.
and that's maybe plan B for next year, or give you some idea of
You've got to see this Mac. Come and look at this Mac.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. So these are the early days. These are the early days clay modelling. We wanted to sketch one side of the car in here. So this is the 88 3.2 Carrera that became the orange car.
Yeah.
So this is our early. We've just got the 17-inch wheels. These were prototypes.
And it was all just hand clay sculpted.
Hand clay sculpted. So anyway, so we sketched the car in here, and then we took it to the prototyping facility in Irvine, Aria Group, who then digitized one side, and then we clayed the other side of the car. I mean, you just see it starting to make a lot of sense. I mean, that took us a year of work going, I'm going to this car up and everyone's going to laugh at me if I don't get this right. Total stressing. So the first set of molds for the first two cars were lifted off the clay, and then when we realized that we were going to move to the 964 chassis, we had to redo everything at this company and spend a whole ton of money to get the 964, because we had to retool for the 964 because the wheel.
So literally do everything again.
Mm-hmm. Wheelbase was different. I got photographs of that if you want to see them as well.
That's just nuts.
The idea was just to clean it up a little bit, take some of the jowls out of it, and just give it a little bit of a nip and tuck.
And that ended up taking 2 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So these were. When we first came up with this idea to do this Singer thing, it was going to have these. It was going to be a 15-inch wheeled car.
That's all that you could do. That's all we did.
Yeah. And then these wheels came along, and we started to think, wow, bigger wheels means bigger brakes. Opens up a few possibilities. We knew these tyres were cool, but as you say, compromised. We wanted to use the actually it's a 270/45 on a 9-inch rim, which I think you may have put on. Yeah. I think you probably put this tyre on your 9-inch on the back of your car.
We tried, yeah.
it doesn't. So anyway, I had some special 10-inch wheels made up. So this is a 10 by 15 Fuchs, cut and welded here.
Yeah.
For the purposes of the prototyping that we were going to do, and I just wanted that perfect kind of stretch that
is perfect, isn't it?
Didn't look like it was too chubby, didn't look like it was a ricer kind of overly stretched, but but I tell you what, Chris, the guy that does these wheels, Harvey Wiedemann, is everyone. He does these wheels, and everyone calls them works of art, and they are, and it's in my view, the wheels maketh the car. The wheels and the tyres maketh any car. You can have the shittiest car in the world, you put the right wheel and tyre combination on it, suddenly goes, oh, could fancy that. You know what I mean? You know that. And
obviously their relationship to the bodywork as well.
Exactly, yeah. So
without wanting to bring it down to a base level, they just look right, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, and the car has to look planted and confident, and there's a confidence to the car, I think, which people immediately pick up on. I don't think it's difficult for people to quantify and put their finger on it sometimes, but there's a confidence. We didn't want to create an overly aggressive, macho-looking 911. 911s to me have always had a friendly face and a business-like rear, and we wanted to retain that. We wanted the car to not scare girls, and for it to be not just a male red-blooded thing, but to be beautiful. I mean, if ever a car authentically and truthfully betrayed its underpinnings, it's the Porsche 911. I mean, it's shaped the way it's got no engine at the front, so it's got no high bonnet. It's got round headlights because they're the most functional and efficient. It's got an engine at the back, and the body shape suggests that it has. It's got enough space for 4 people at a pinch inside. It is the car. It is the only car you could potentially have to have in your collection, and the whole deal with the Singer was to try and create a wonderful compromise where we pulled in all these fabulous things from the air-cooled era to make one car that you could, if you only had to have one car in your garage and you wanted, maybe you like to take to the track occasionally, maybe you like to put your kids in the back occasionally, maybe you like to commute to it occasionally, maybe the wonderful duality that is the 911, we could turn the volume up a little bit and make it as sexy and as desirable and as efficient and as fast as possible. And that's what the car's about, really.
I can't say any more than that. It's a very, very erudite description of what is, in layman's terms, just a plain horny car.
Thank you, Chris.
Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Now look, I could have talked to Rob about the gestation of this car for hours, and it's clear that Rob could have reciprocated the favour because it basically involved discussing every cool car in existence. But there comes a point when reality beats theory, and I just wanted to drive the car itself. I really wanted to drive the car itself.
Singer on the road. Well, first of all, we got quite a firm ride on this car. It's solidly mounted at the back, so no bushings, all rose jointed. Quite busy, but the MV8 isn't too bad because it's got all that sound deadening in it. Steering, direct and power assisted, but this lovely little prototypo wheel just wriggles around. If you're someone that's bemoaning the lack of hydraulic assisted steering in a 991, don't come and drive one of these because it's just going to make you feel even more angry about electric steering. Noise, well, yeah, it's all there. This engine is lovely. Nice road car engine as well. This car's got quite short gearing, so first, second, third, nice and short, gives you a load of punch out of slower turns. Gear shift itself is exceptional. They've taken the standard 964 shifter, taken as much rubber out of it as possible, made it really direct, and it's lovely. On a windy little mountain road in California, in uncharacteristically bad weather, it has to be said. What's this thing like? Lots of traction. Lots of traction. Feels very 911 at the front, but nicely so. Oh yes. Oh yes. Do you know what? There's a sense of occasion sitting in it, which kind of makes you overlook some of the stuff, and knowing what we know about the underpinnings, there's so much you can do with the dampers and the springs anyway. you can get this car to handle, I think, pretty much the way you want it to. And it's really not far off the way it is now. They haven't even started doing the full testing on this car yet. Engine's lovely, just lovely. Wow, there's some nice scenery around here. Oh, I know I crap on about it, but older 911s are such lovely cars and they make amazing bases for these kind of exercises. What a car. What a car. You could live with this every single day. It's lovely. The cabin, I want to tell you about this cabin. You need to sit in it with me to feel the quality, to smell the hide. It's just utterly, utterly beautiful. And people look at it. They really, really look at it. As a road car, it's a nice balance of fun, excitement, but competence. Special mention for the sound deadening as well. This is much, much quieter than I ever got my green 911 to be. Although it's quite booming in the exhaust area. Again, I think they're doing a bit more on the exhaust. It's just a really nice place to be. But is it a bit better on a more open racetrack? I suppose we have to go and find out, don't we?
Now, hold that thought for a second. Before we get ragged on the circuit, you need to witness the crazy level of detail invested in each Singer.
Maz here is the fountain of all knowledge about what's happened to the car and why they did what and everything else. And we discussed earlier that he was a tits rather than an arse man, so we're going to start at the front of the car. Okay? Right. This doesn't look right to me. I know the inside of a 911. This has been played with.
Well, to begin with, we use the long hood. So the latch for the 964 is about here. So we cut that piece out and we buy the latch from the early car. However, we have to accommodate for it lots and lots and lots of cooling down below. So we built this box. Actually, the fabrication starts about there. We remount the ABS unit where it belongs and try to make everything look like it was born that way.
So we've got lots of cooling going on under here, which is beautiful. We'll do some cutaways so you can see that. But little fan units, and the build quality is very much motorsport. Just looks like a racing car to me. It looks like a beautifully built racing car, which is apt because these light units are from a
LMP.
Okay.
The hell is LMP unit that they supply to everybody.
And it's because it will go up and down for flashing.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's pretty.
It
the right
is
size.
utterly beautiful. And how much is one of those?
Probably 400 or 500.
Do you need the fuel filler cap that big?
Yes. No. A lot of what we do is governed by how it looks, but underneath there, it's fully functional.
I mean, that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
So top mounts, Oleans.
The top mounts are kind of a prototype piece. We, as a company on the East Coast, that are building them with them. They're sealed. So again, what we did is we went to a lot of race car guys that sort of best in class race car parts, but they don't make street car stuff. So we have to ask them to adjust what they're doing for what we do, which is build a road car. You know, people think they want a bunch of motorsport bits on, but once you go down the road and things are clanking and clacking and it gets old very, very quick. So
I've been there, done that. Now, 17-inch rims give you the chance to have big brakes. So this is the classic 993 turbo brake setup, is it?
You got it. Yeah, and the idea was that it would bolt up, no problems, kind of no BS. It would just work, and that's we took a look at. We worked with Brembo for a bit to look at an actual motorsport caliper and rotor, and it's sort of exactly what we were trying to avoid, was a car that just wouldn't work well or wouldn't feel right or have some compromise to it. And that's what was nice, is Porsche did a lot of the work, and we tried to take the best stuff that they did and stick it on here. We knew it would work. We knew it would fit. It's pretty easy to ruin a great car. We had to leave the OEM world for things like modern damping, though, which is
been down that route. That's a beautiful looking Oleans 3-way. Which is just stunning. But outside of that, there's so much sort of bespoke bracketing and
Yep.
bits and bobs to hold new
mean,
body panels on. It's all completely different.
Yeah, these are all ours. We either make them here or we have them made, and everything's new. I mean, there's nothing reused. There's nothing old. Then of course there's a lot of electrical stuff, and you have to have everything matters. Every bit. This is for a turn signal.
It's
One
an
of the
absolute
bulbs.
high quality motorsport connector, isn't it?
As good as it gets.
Cabin. So what we haven't said is that this is based on a 964. That's quite well known. But again, completely new. It's a redip shell, isn't it? Everything's been completely made to look new.
The shell's been taken down to metal, and then given this E-coat, which is an anti-corrosion coat, before the carbon panels are bonded to the car.
Yep.
You know, we adjust the dash. There's no airbag, but we've filled a bunch of holes and made a few adjustments here and there, and this of course accepts that big milled aluminum dash panel that attaches in front of here. And if you notice, we can get a new one of these old OEM 220s and stick it behind the dash, and we've sort of adjusted the way the buttons work. This is the OEM HVAC unit, but it's been refaced and painted and try to make it look a little old school without losing any functionality, which is, always a balance. And certainly electronically, everything has to be replaced anew. This is a bespoke harness front to rear.
How much does the harness cost?
Near $30,000.
And this carpet is actually, this is 356 carpet, isn't it? Coarse, just looks perfect, coarse, hard wearing, but again somehow feels luxurious. And how you make something that looks like it's got Labrador hair sticking out of it feel luxurious, but it does.
Underneath the carpet is the sound ending. We hired a gentleman who spends his time quieting private planes, so he deals with problems that no car manufacturer has ever approached in terms of sound and weight. So it's covered in multiple layers. It doesn't look very scientific, but it's actually how they do it. How they do it in planes. It has there's a strategy in the layering and the types of materials. And he spent a lot of time in the car with microphones and other kinds of measurement machines. And this is the package we have right now.
Engine bay, come on. Business end. Motor by Cosworth.
Yep.
How many litres?
3.8.
And we're saying 350 horsepower, but I drove it yesterday. Feels like it might have a bit more than that to me, unless they're lying about the weight at 1,200 kilograms. Wow, a thing of beauty again.
Yeah.
Gt3 Crank in this one.
Gt3 Crank, individual throttle bodies, coil-on plugs, so there's a gaping hole where distributors would be.
Piston and rod to your design, or just the piston?
No, Cosworth specified all the outsourced stuff, so they had Carrillo make us a rod, a very special lightweight rod that's still going to work for, still going to be a 100,000-mile motor, and a piston. They really spec the whole thing. We hand them a case, a few other bits and bobs, and some heads, and everything else comes in from the other suppliers, and then they tolerance them and put it together and stick it on the dyno for a day and ship it over here.
Now, one aspect we can't see on this car is one of the most important in the whole story, is your switching to this new bespoke panel widths and panel shapes for the front and rear fenders, and they're made from carbon.
Yeah.
So can you show us where the carbon begins and where it ends?
Well, this car has a carbon roof,
Yeah.
so it's effectively the stock window frame is still here, but we've cut out, very close to the lines there. It has a carbon roof bonded on that comes down to about here. Then the panel, which is it's a little tough to see, but everything on this side of the chassis, so the outside of the window frame, is completely composite, starting here, all the way down and through the front of the car. So when before this is put on, it's just an odd kind of skeleton of the inside of the window, which is metal. So from here forward, of course, the hood, the bumper. We got steel up here. Of course, this doesn't change.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's tremendously strong and it's tremendously light.
And the mold's obviously all yours.
Yeah.
I mean, as you've probably now realised, the lengths they've gone to get to the stage where it's all repeatable. That's the impressive thing. And you've reached a stage now where you can see, look at the quality of this product, and it's all repeatable. It's just that you've got to write the cheque to buy all the expensive bits.
Yeah. And we went through, several stages of tooling, several times. I mean, it didn't happen the first time. You really had to try and it doesn't, as much as you try to engineer it, it doesn't matter until you stick it on the car and make sure it fits, and then you have to go back and retool, readjust until you get it right. Now it's right.
How many $1,000?
Depends on the spec, as low as high threes, mid to high threes, but as high as 500. Depends on. As
low as high $300,000.
Yeah, it's
you do understand the dictionary definition of the word low, don't you? Just beautiful, just beautiful.
And now, you probably think it would be a crime to take this piece of four-wheeled OCD onto a racetrack. But that's not a notion I've ever felt any sympathy for, so this is the track bit now. But here's the thing, it's not actually very easy to jump into a Singer and just drive it. Not because the car is obstructive, but because you're constantly distracted by the details, the sheer beauty of the shapes, the dish of the wheels, the gorgeous seats, just everything really. It oozes levels of undiluted want, dangerous levels of the stuff. But eventually, you have to just wring its neck.
Of course, the Singer 911 is not designed to be a track car, but the guys wanted to have some track performance, and it's got just that. They're claiming 350 horsepower from this Cosworth designed and developed and built engine. Well, to me it feels every bit as strong as that, maybe even stronger. Car weighs 1,200 kilograms, but it hasn't had much development, even though it's got these three-way adjustable Olean stampers. So at the moment, it's a very sharp car, really drives like a classic 911. You've got to stop it in a straight line. If you back off, it wants to rotate. So you've got to keep your foot in, and then it's glorious. Listen to it. If you just back off though, it's so beautiful to look at, and the driving experience matches the beauty, and that's why it's one of the more special cars that I'll drive this year. It's just gorgeous. Okay, you could argue that it needs a set of cup tyres and the brake balance could be doing a little bit coming further forward, and there's many things you can say about it as a track car, but it's not designed to be a track car. If you bought this thing and you were brave enough to go and do a track day in something so gorgeous, you wouldn't be disappointed. I actually quite like the edginess of it, but there's a few things they can do to iron the chassis out. But look at me, it's not as if I'm not enjoying myself, is it? The engine is just lovely, lovely, lovely. It responds and breathes at the top end like a water-cooled engine, like a Gt3 engine, but it's got a Gt3 crank in it. Look where I am. I'm in the middle of a desert and a beautiful sparse racetrack with a car that is making a noise like that. There's worse days, Monkey, there's worse days. Standard Michelin Sport tyres, they do a perfectly good job here. They're getting a bit ragged on the shoulders. Other than that, just sensational motor car. Throttle response is electric, proper old-fashioned floor hinge pedal box. It's just the classic 911 experience with more performance, more beauty, and some creature comforts and some skids. Fantastic motor car. Oh yes. The Singer shouldn't have and doesn't need great track performance, but it, out of the box, it's not far away from having it already. Special thing.
Could you really spend $500,000 on a reimagined 911? If I had the folding, you know what, I could. In many ways, this is my perfect car. Small, fast enough, challenging, exciting, beautiful, and altered in a way that concentrates the bits of old 911s that I love and yet updates the bits that I would happily discard.
What more can I say than what a spectacular way to start 2013.